Milan. There's nothing to do, nothing to see. It's boring. The food is mid. Please, be for real. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Arlene. I am an American woman of a certain age who moved to Rome, Italy in 2008, and I have recently moved to Milan. And on this channel, we talk about all things Italiano, lifestyle, St. Martin, and Anguilla. In today's video, I'm going to talk about why I believe Milan is a city worth visiting, depending on what your interests are. Please excuse the redness of my eyes. It is allergy season. I've taken allergy medicine. I've used eye drops. Nothing is helping. Anyway, back to the videos. It is high season, so you know what that means. The return of the travel influencers with all their opinions. And one of the most popular opinions is that Milan is a skip. And there's even a vocal stim voiceover that they use all the time on social media. You've probably seen it where the voiceover says, "We got to go to Milan. What's in Milan?" And then they point to the Duomo, maybe the Galleria, and then the next cut, they're on the train, in the car, on the plane. I think it's so clever and funny. I think it's lazy and wrong. And also, it's been done to death. Pick a new voiceover or something. I don't know. There is tourism in Milan. Over 8 million people come here every year on average, but it's a different type of tourism than the tourism you find in the big three: Florence, Rome, Venice. So if you've never been to the big three before, would I recommend that Milan be the number one city on your list? Probably not. Again, it depends on what your interests are. But if you have been to Italy before and you have been to Rome, Florence, Venice, why not check out Milan? Maybe you're on your way to the lake region. You spend 2 nights in Milan. Everything is not for everybody, and that's okay. But what I find a little kind of obnoxious idea that Milan doesn't feel Italian enough is I don't understand that. What are you talking about? It's in Italy. What do you mean it doesn't feel Italian enough? What feels Italian to you? I think a lot of these travel influencers are buying into a stereotype of Italy, what the Italians call the pizza, pasta, mandolin, and that's all they know. So maybe a city like Milan confuses them because it's not Rome. It's not Florence, it's not Venice, and that's okay. And those cities are very different from each other. So what's the issue? I think Milan could be a great place to visit if you have certain interests. Here's the thing with Milan is tourism is a very important sector here, but it's not the only sector. It's not the only thing driving the local economy. There are many other industries here and many other sectors, and Milan is the business, economic, financial, design, fashion capital of the entire country. So it's going to have a very different feeling. If none of the following things interest you, then skipping Milan probably makes sense. So I would say Milan is a perfect city for people who are curious and love cities. If you don't love cities, don't come to Milan. It's a city. If you're not a curious person, probably not the city for you either, because it's not so in your face with her beauty. It's not so in your face with the things that people think of when they think of like, oh, I'm going to Italy. It's kind of like an onion. You have to peel back some layers. If that doesn't interest you, then yeah, stick to, again, the big three or the Amalfi Coast. Milan is a great city for people who are interested in art and culture. There are incredible museums and galleries here. You have places like Villa Necchi. There's a space that is, I would say, relatively new. I'm not quite sure when it opened, and I'm going to butcher this name, but the Pirelli Hangar Bicocca. It used to be a former locomotive factory. I've been to exhibits at that space. It is absolutely incredible. There are also smaller galleries or places like the Prada Foundation, again, relatively new. And what I appreciate is that there is funding for these spaces. Some of it's private, some of it's public, sometimes it's a combination. It's really incredible. There's art here for any interest. If you like Renaissance art, if you like modern art, there's something here for you. I think Milan's a great city for people who like food, who like to eat. When people say that the food here is mid, I cannot take them seriously because I'm not sure where they're eating. The thing with Milan is because you have people from all over Italy who have moved here, some moved, their families have been here for generations. You can find Italian cuisine from all over the country here in Milan. Also, international cuisine. There's great food from Senegal, from China, from Japan. Someone told me there's a great Salvadorian restaurant located near the Susa metro stop. There is so much variety, and you will not find that in every Italian city. And also, if you love fish, which might surprise you because we're not like on the coast. What a lot of people don't know is that one of the biggest fish markets for the country is located in Milan. So people come from all over to select fish for their restaurants. And here the restaurants are lucky. It's right in their backyard. They get first dibs. There's a great selection. And as my friend Gina pointed out, who owns a tour company based in Rome, she said, you have to remember that, fish is not cheap. And so you need a local population that would support the restaurants that are serving fish, or that would support the fishmongers, and they go and they buy fish and they cook fish at home. That's something to remember. Also, certain cuts of meat that are very expensive. Okay, she also pointed out certain cuts of meat, not cheap. You have a local population that can support that type of cuisine. So yeah, you have the local cuisine, of course, and the cuisine from this region, but you also have food from everywhere in Italy. It's fantastic. If you want food from Puglia, there's a restaurant from Puglia. You want food from Sicily, there's a Sicilian restaurant, Tuscan restaurants. It goes on and on and on. Travel influencers say the food in Milan is mid. I truly think they've lost the plot because you also have a variety of price points. Yes, Milan can be more expensive than Rome, but it's a range. You don't have to eat out at the most expensive restaurant to have a good meal in Milan. Milan is a great city to visit if you are interested in architecture. Some of the giants of architecture studied and or worked in this city. The variety of architecture is unmatched. You will not find the same variety in other cities. Everything from like Liberty style to modern skyscrapers to the charming little alleys in the Brera district. Again, this variety, you're just not going to find it elsewhere in other cities. Milan is often called ugly. I think if it were in another country, nobody would call this city ugly. It's just that it's in Italy, and there are beautiful cities all over this country. And again, it's not a city that's in your face with her beauty. A lot of it's hidden. The interior courtyards. This is where curiosity is helpful. And talking about architecture, also talk about interior design. The commercial spaces here are incredible. They're so beautiful. The attention to detail. Also, once again, variety. There are some spaces that are very modern. There are some spaces that are very minimalist. There are spaces that are maximalist and just bursting with color. You will find it all here. We have Design Week, which is one of the most popular global design events. Over 500,000 people come here to participate. Also, the whole city opens up and there are things available to the public. You have so many talented interior designers, architects who do interiors who are based in Milan. It's quite the international hub for design and architecture. So if those two things interest you, Milan is a city for you. Milan is also a great city to visit if you are into fashion and or style. Italian brands that are known worldwide like Prada, Armani, Marni, Bottega Veneta, but there's also smaller brands that are not as well known. And we also have, local artisans, and we have incredible vintage shops where you can find great pieces for a very good price. If you are into the more high end luxury items, keep in mind that you can get the VAT tax back when you are at the airport. You just need to ask for the form for it. And I think you have to show your passport as well. Also, a lot of times the prices here are going to be lower even if you have to pay the VAT because you're not paying the import taxes stateside. Also, there are things that you could buy here that you cannot find elsewhere. So it's a great city for people who are into that. If you are somebody who wears athleisure all day, this is like your identity, this is your uniform, Milan may not be the city for you. It is a place just like other major European cities, or I would say anywhere basically outside the United States. People tend to not be as, I'll be blunt, as sloppy. They're just not. They could be comfortable, but they're still going to look put together. So, yeah, I would say if you're going to Pilates, if you're going to work out, you're going to gym, that's beautiful, that's wonderful. But would you wear Lululemon to aperitivo? That's not a thing here. No. And I don't think it ever will be, even though Lululemon recently opened up a store in Milan. But what I think is interesting is they always show more like the outerwear versus the yoga pants and things like that. Because again, it's just not a thing. And before people come in the comments saying, oh my gosh, I want to be comfortable, I want to wear whatever I want, I don't care. Again, do you, but I'm just telling you the vibe of this city, people are put together. Like the way I used to dress to run errands in Los Angeles, I would not dress that way to take out the garbage here. I'm serious. You know, it's just different. And you can be comfortable and still look put together. No one's saying you have to dress up and be, uncomfortable. And I would say London is probably more fashion forward than Milan. I feel here it's a little bit more understated, but the tailoring is impeccable. People know what works for their bodies. They wear what works for them. The hyper consumerism that we have in the States is not really a thing here, not just in Milan, but just outside the United States in general. One, salaries are lower, and two, we don't have the closet space. And even if you are wealthy, why would you need 30 pairs of jeans? Like, you don't need to shop every weekend. Like, that's just not a thing. Cardio here is not shopping. There are things to do. Like, people have different interests than shopping all the time. People will save up money and go to the big sales that happen twice a year and buy maybe one or two pieces. People mix and match. You may have a top that's from Mango, but you're wearing a vintage Prada skirt that you got for a great price, or your friend who works there told you about the friends and family sale. So keep that in mind if you're coming. It's not as casual. You're not going to see people wearing flip-flops everywhere. It's just not. It's not a thing. And I would say it's the same for New York City. It's not so much about America versus Europe. It's more a city where you walk versus a city maybe where you drive everywhere. If you're a fan of aperitivo culture, Milan's a great city to visit. Now, there's some debate where it really started. Was it Torino, Venice, or Milan? What everybody agrees on is that it started in the north of Italy, and now it's very popular throughout the entire country. You can find different price points. You can go to some of the hotel bars. Unlike Rome, Milan is more like Paris, London, New York, Los Angeles in the respect that locals do go to hotel bars here. In Rome, there's like one or two hotel bars that are popular with locals, but it's not really a thing. Here, you will find more of that. So obviously, if you go to Bulgari, the Portrait, the Four Seasons, the cocktails are more expensive. You're still going to get some nibbles with those cocktails though, versus going to, our local place, which is €5 for a glass of wine, and, you get your potato chips and olives and whatnot. It's, you can find a variety of places, especially once the weather is nice. Everybody's sitting outside in the piazza, having aperitivo. It's fantastic. And again, every place has its own vibe, but you usually will get a little bite to eat with your drink, and it's very fun. I don't drink coffee. But my friends who do tell me that there are great coffee bars here. So you have your local spot that people will go to. Maybe the coffee there is not the best, but people go because it's part of the neighborhood. It's like part of your family. That's where you go every morning to get your espresso. You know, you go there to maybe get a spremuta, which is fresh squeezed orange juice. It's your local spot. But then there are also places that are known for their coffee, and those places you can find them all throughout Milan. People are very picky about which ones that they prefer. There's the Starbucks rotisserie, which I believe there's only 3 in the world. It's in a former post office. The building is huge, and the architecture and the interior design is very interesting. I'm not a coffee drinker. I really don't go to Starbucks that often. Once in a blue moon, I like to get an Arnold Palmer, but then it's like, why am I paying €7 for like this much? Iced tea and lemonade, and the rest is all ice. And that's saying a lot because I'm American. I love ice, but no, absolutely not. It's too much ice. So I don't go there, but I do think if you are a fan of Starbucks, it's worth checking out for the architecture and the interior design. And they have a variety of different drinks. They also have cocktails there. They actually serve aperitivo at that Starbucks. And there's a lot of baked goods because they teamed up with one of the top bakeries in Milan, so which I think was very smart. So it's, again, a place to check out. There's usually a line. They actually have a bouncer. Yeah, it's a whole thing. Another thing I appreciate about Milan is I have a sweet tooth, and I'm not really super big on Italian desserts. I mean, I love gelato, I love granita, but compared to France, I would say France has better desserts. And then you have the American style desserts with cakes and crumbles and things like that. Here, you will find more variety in sweet. They have traditional Italian desserts, of course, but then you also have cinnamon rolls are a big thing here. I'm not sure why. There's so many incredible cafes and bakeries that specialize in desserts from all over the world. One of the most popular cafes is called Loste, and the owner used to be the pastry chef, I believe, at Noma in Copenhagen, and moved back to Italy and opened the cafe. So there's a lot of that happening in Milan as well. People who used to live in London, other places in the UK, and then after Brexit, they moved back and then brought businesses here with them, and other types of, not just restaurants, but other type of businesses and industry. So one theory I have about the desserts being richer here is because they use more butter, and it's because of where we're located. We're closer to France, Switzerland, the cows here, with the type of cow, what the cows eat. You also have great wine bars here with excellent selections. We call them Enoteca. They, again, you run the gamut from larger spaces that have a huge variety of wine from all over Italy, and also some international wines. And then you have the smaller ones that focus maybe on a specific region. We're very close to Piemonte, close to the Veneto, other northern regions in Italy, which have interesting wines that you may not be able to find where you're from in the States because they don't export that much to the States. Maybe they're smaller producers. So something to definitely check out when you're here. They also have wine bars that have turntables, so they're like listening bars, and people go, have a glass of wine, listen to great music. I am not really clubbing. I'm past the clubbing age, but there are great clubs here with well-known Italian DJs, but then they also have international DJs who come through and will do a set. If that's your vibe, that's what you're into, Milan's a great city to visit for that. A lot of the tourism that Milan gets is from Design Week, Fashion Week, other big industry conferences, but they also get people who are coming for the arts and for big concerts. For example, a lot of the global artists, when they perform in Italy, if they perform in Italy, they usually stop in Milan. Like Bruno Mars is going to be here this summer. Beyonce played in Milan. Taylor Swift. You have Jamiroquai. Bad Bunny is doing 2 shows in Milan. So people will come from other parts of Italy, stay a couple nights, and then you have people also coming from other countries to Milan because of where the city is located. Also, you have easy access to 3 different airports in the area, so people will come from southern France, from Switzerland, to go to a concert in Milan because that artists, it's easier for them to get to Milan than it is to maybe the major city in their country. So that's a big chunk of tourism as well. And speaking of the airports, Linate Airport, you can easily get to the city center on the Blue Line. And the Blue Line opened not that long ago. So I think it's, 2 or 3 stops to the city center. Speaking of arts, you have opera. If you are interested in opera, we have La Scala, which is one of the most beautiful opera houses in the world. It's a very popular opera house. If you're into ballet, opera, come to La Scala. You stay for a couple nights, and then you get to see other parts of the city. One thing I really appreciate about Milan is that it is easy to get around. And for someone like me coming from Rome, I truly appreciate it. The public transportation works. The metro is easy to use. We have trams, buses. Everything is really well connected. And the city itself is not so sprawling. It's a little bit more contained. So it's easier to get from one side of the city to the other. During Design Week, when I would look at my schedule, say, oh, how I'm going to get to, it was easy. I just hopped on a metro, zip, zip, zip. Getting a taxi may not be so easy, especially during weeks where there's a lot going on in the city, but I have rarely used a taxi here because I just find the public transportation very easy to use, accessible, and convenient. So I don't use taxis that often. Whereas in Rome, especially if I went out in the Centro, I would have to take a taxi to get back home, and there were never enough taxis. I'm not going to talk about Rome. Also, keep in mind you have the regional train. So if you want to go to the Lake region, you want to go to Rome, you want to go to Naples, you want to go to Florence, you want to go to Venice, it's very easy to get on those trains. And one of my friends prefers to take the train to Paris instead of flying to Paris. There's a lot of options, and it's great to have those options. I will say one thing about Milan that's not so great, especially during the winter, is the weather. Because we have the Alps and then you have the flatness of the River Po, smog, fog can get trapped. It reminds me of Los Angeles in that respect because you have the mountains and then you have the ocean, things get socked in. Spring here is fantastic. Fall is beautiful. Winter, again, weather is not so great. It's raining. It's chilly. It's cold, depending on where you're from. Gray. And then summers here tend to be very hot and humid, but that's also in Rome, hot, humid. One reason why locals tend to get the heck out of town on weekends and whenever possible. So wrapping up, I'm just tired of hearing, oh, Milan is terrible, don't visit, blah, blah, blah. I think it really depends on the person and what they are interested in. It could be a fantastic city. And what I appreciate about Milan is that it's not completely overrun by tourism and tourists. It is a city, to paraphrase Harry Styles, it's a city that feels like a city. It's not a Disneyland. It's not a situation where, like in Positano, it's late May and already the locals are complaining they cannot literally leave their house because it is so crowded. You have over a ratio of over 10-to-1 tourists to locals. That's not sustainable. That's not good. And so sometimes I think maybe it's a positive thing that people are so negative towards Milan as a place to visit. Maybe that's good, because then the people who come here are people who really want to come, and we're not going to get the people who don't get the city or don't understand it or don't appreciate it and just going to badmouth it all the time. If you like cities, if you're a curious person, if you've been to Italy before and you would like to see maybe a side of Italy that a lot of people don't see, I think Milan might be a great city to visit. I think Milan might surprise you. Thank you for watching this video. If you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, please hit that like and subscribe button. It will help grow the channel and it helps with the algorithm. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. Ciao for now.